So in this lesson we're going to look at creating a HTML navigation bar. Now this will act as the kind of fundamental navigation between all of the pages in our website, so no external links. It's very stylish and we're going to use a list to actually create this. There's some really advanced techniques here, but I'm going to try and take it in such a simple way. Then at the end of the lesson, once we've got our navigation bar flushed out and working, your mission is to make it, style it and make it unique to your design yourself, okay? So hopefully it will look awesome. So the design that we're going to look at today then is layout 2, but we're just going to add this navigation bar. So the extra element that we're going to use is the nav, which is a HTML5 new HTML5 tag. It's going to be positioned at 100%. You've got a few ways in which you could do this. As you can see on mine, I've actually used the nav as a layout container, but if you wanted to, you can also use the nav as a sub-container as well. So just like the article from the last lesson, it can actually sit inside of one of the other containers. So you may decide that your header should be split up into 2 sections. So on the left section you have the logo, and on the right section you have the navigation. And that's something you could do. It's a bit more advanced. We're not going to go quite that far today, but we are going to look at just creating a really nice navigation bar. So let's start. So once again, make sure you're in the right folder. Make sure you've got the right documents open. So I'm going to just build on top of our layout 2 design. So we have our head, and the navigation is going to go just below the head. I'm just going to put it inside of our HTML. I'm going to say nav, and then I'm going to close it as well. So once we have this, we're just going to save it. It won't actually do anything just yet, but we're going to put all of our code in over on this side. Now I'm just going to clear the canvas just so we've got nothing else distracting us. So get rid of all of that stuff. I'm going to start putting my nav here. So let's just create the CSS element for that. So what do we first want to say is we need to make sure that it clears the top one. So we just need to say clear and then both, and that just basically means top and bottom. And then we want to say width 100%. Don't forget the semicolons. And we're just going to make it a height of 50 pixels, so it's going to be very, very narrow. And for now, I'm just going to give it a background color, but I'm literally going to rip the background color out straight away. But just to make sure that it's working, I'm going to put it in there. I'm just going to say grey for now. Right, so let's just save that. Let's make sure we're working on the same. So we've created our nav, and we've created some nice simple CSS elements there. So let's make sure this is the right one, and voila, there it is. There's our grey navigation bar that's going to sit in between this big section here and the header. So what's the next thing we need to do? Inside of the nav, we're going to have to create some kind of list. Now the list I'm going to do is an unordered list. So just like in previous lessons, we're just going to start off with an unordered list, and then we're going to close it straight away. And then we're going to put some list items in between. So, oops. What should we call these list items? Now I've got some written down here, so let me just check what links I want. So the first one is going to be home, so that'll be our obviously home page. Let's just copy this, paste, paste, paste. I'm just going to have a very simple one, so I'm just going to have 4 pages, and when we come to our big project, or when we start our big project in the next lesson, you'll be able to use some of these elements. Okay, so I'm just going to create 4 pages. You can call these whatever you want. So this next one's going to be news. The next one after that is going to be contact, and the final one is going to be about. Now when you create your own, you might decide that you've got hobbies pages, and you've got all kinds of social pages, or whatever you want really. It doesn't overly matter. Let's just refresh this and see what we've got so far. Now it is going to be a horizontal navigation. And as you can see, at the current moment, it's going down, which is not ideal. So we're going to have to put some CSS in to kind of work that stuff out. So let's just look at creating some CSS for the navigation bar and that UL. So we've already created the nav, but I'm going to get more specific with it. So I'm going to say nav UL. So this is just targeting that particular area now. And I'm going to say list style type of none. I want nothing there. Okay, so list style type of none. And let's just see what that's done. Just make sure it gets rid of all these bullet points for us. And that's what we're doing. We're just trying to clear stuff out at the minute. So there's the first bit we want. The next bit, let's just add a 0 margin so we get no kind of interruption there. This actually won't do anything, but it's just good practice to zero everything out, just so you're not kind of getting any overlaps or anything like that. 0 padding. And then we want overflow hidden. Now hopefully that should just kind of stop it from overlapping into this container here. There we go. So it's taking a little bit out. It's still overlapping, so we just need to do a little bit more there. Let's just rip out this background colour while we're there. And let's put it down. Let's put it in this section. So cut that from there. We actually want it here instead. And the colour that I've kind of specifically got out is still a grey, but it's, oops, this colour here, so it's not much different, so you shouldn't notice too much. A bit darker. Okay, so there's that taken care of. Now we need to take care of the list. The fact that they're still going down in one direction is not good, so let's just target that list. So we're inside the nav, and let's target the list items. And now we're going to use an old one, so we want to say float left. Hopefully that will take care of that, and now they should all be going in one line. There we go. So we're getting there now. Now we're going to target the fact that it's a link, but we haven't actually created our link yet. So let's create the links to make these happen. So if we come into our list and we create our A tag, remember they do have to be open and closed. So open and closed, and then we're going to say href equals, and then those 2 speech marks, and we want to send it somewhere. Now we currently don't have any pages set up, so we can do a thing called placeholding. Now the hashtag is a placeholder, and basically what this hashtag says is don't do anything. When this button's clicked, just don't do anything, just come back on this same page. So it's a placeholder. When you come to actually putting your own text in, so you'll say something like index, or yours, well, once you create it, you'll probably say home.html like that, and that's really what we're aiming for. But at the moment, because we don't have these pages set up, and if you clicked on home.html, you'll get this massive error. So instead of getting an error page, if we just put the hashtag and then home, it kind of saves us from that problem. Now let's just copy and paste this a few times. So copy, paste, 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 and let's just put in the closing tag as well. Oopsies. Copy, paste, paste, paste. Now we obviously want this to say hashtag news. We want this one to say hashtag contact. Now if I'm going too fast for you guys, remember you can pause it and you can go over it. So far all we've done is this little bit of nav and this here, and I've deliberately cleared everything else off the screen just so that it makes more sense and so that we don't get all kind of confused about it. And let's just do the about as well. Okay, so let's save that. So pause the video if you want, and then just catch up. So now you can see they're all links, and now they're links. Now we've got this A tag, we can actually go into that and we can actually style that A tag. So once again we have to call up the nav, and then we have to call up the list item, because if you don't, all your A tags are going to look this way and you don't necessarily want that. And then these curly brackets, and then we're going to say display block. Okay, and what that will do is it should hopefully just allow it to block out a little bit more. Let's just change the colour of our text to white. And should we test that? Let's align them center. So text, align, center. And let's just put a bit of, let's just test it first before we put the padding in, just to make sure everything's going in the right direction. But there, they've gone white, but there's still lots of, there's no gap between them, which is rubbish. So let's add a little bit of padding there, so we can, yeah, so they start looking a bit nicer. So what kind of padding? So the first one I'm going to set is going to be top and bottom. So I would say 14 pixels top and bottom and 16 pixels left and right. Now I'm only going to use 2 columns. You can use 4. So if you wanted different padding all the way around, you would call this one as the top, this one as the right, then the next one would be the bottom, and the next one would be the right, but would be the left. But because you're only calling 2, it naturally thinks that this is the top and bottom, and this is the left and right. And it's quite a nice way of doing it. So let's just change that text decoration as well, because we still actually, let's just test it and then I'll get rid of the text decoration. So there you go. Now it's made it nice and big, and it's actually allowed some of these bits that we put in before to come in, which is nice. We don't want this underlying thing. This underscrub thing is rubbish. It just, yeah, it's not what we want. So let's get rid of that as well. And if you remember, that's text decoration, and then we're just going to set that to none. Now, as you can see, our navigation bar is looking pretty awesome. So I'm pretty happy with that. Another thing that's quite common of a navigation is when you hover over it, you can have it change colour. So we really want that. So just because at the moment you can see it's a button or a navigation, because when you hover over it, it changes, the mouse changes to the hand. But let's also make it change the colour. And you can do lots of things with the hover effect. But let's just do simple stuff, and we can explore other options later. So let's hone in again. So nav, and then the next one is the list. We're still working with the A, but we're using what's called a pseudo class. And this little colon now, followed by the keyword hover, and then another colon. Yeah, because we want to make it not active. So another colon, not, and then we want some brackets, dot active. Now we haven't set up the active class yet, so it actually won't do anything, but we're just kind of preempting. So this is the pseudo class, and this is basically saying, right, when you hover over this link, as long as it's not the active button, which is the active page, you can display something. Okay, so what do we want it to display? In this instance, let's just change the background color. So the background, and I've got a custom color set up here, which is 111, and then don't forget semicolon. Now let's just save that, and what you should see is all of these, because we haven't actually set an active class, all of these can hover now. Okay, whereas before we set this up, that wasn't even possible. So let's set up the active class. What do we want it to do if it's the active page? And that's what it means is, right, it's the active page. What do you want it to do? What I want it to do, let me just move that up one more, try and keep everything on the page. So we're going to say dot active, and I haven't set the class up yet, so this won't do anything just yet. We'll say dot active. So if it is the active page, go background, and let's just change the color to, now I've got a custom color set up here, so let's say 4CAF50, which is a greeny color. And then semicolons close it. The bit you're missing at the bottom is the closing bracket. So basically, when it's active, it will show a different color. Now, if I save this, it won't do anything because I haven't told it which one's the active page yet. So if I come back over to here, and let's add inside of the A link, because if you look, the A is what's associating with the active class. So if we come over here and say, right, class equals, and then those speech marks, and then active. Okay, and then save that again. Now, the button that's active now is the home button. And what you would want to do, if you've got 4 pages, on every different page, you would change this class to that particular page. Okay, so at the moment, when we click on it, you've now got this, the home is the one that shows up, and the rest of them do the hover. Yeah, so if I wanted to change this, so say for instance I was actually on the about page, I would take it off of there and I would paste it there. Okay, so now when I refresh it and I come over to this, you now see that it's the about page. It tells you, it's a really nice indicator, and it tells you which page you're on, which is absolutely fantastic. Now there's lots more stuff you can do, and obviously I've kind of kept this deliberately simple, but as you can see we have a very nice kind of navigation here, and it works and it's functional. What I'd like you to do now is have a go at customizing it. So you could, if you wanted to, you could customize this area. So you could say, right, actually I don't want it the height of 50, I want it 100. So you could straight away make it a lot higher. Okay, and that takes care, obviously you've got a bit more there, so you would need to kind of look at the area that displays that as well. So the area that you would need to look at is this one here, so you'd probably need to set height up in here as well. Let's try that. Let's just see if that takes care. So if that takes care, I might just remove that from there, just so that you're not doubling up on yourself. And that's the case. Look, so at the moment we're doubling up on ourselves. Ooh, actually we would probably need to do that. Yeah, there's very little we could do there. The problem is, of course, is the actual container for the text is quite small. So in order for it to fill this, you would actually need to make your font size bigger for the links as well. So let's come into the links and let's say font hyphen size, and then let's say 18 points. I always use 18, don't I? And there you go, and it makes it bigger. So if you wanted to fill that whole area, you'd have to find the point size that matches the 100. So I'm going to say 30 points would probably match the 100. And that way, not quite, 48. Oh, too big, but it does match the size. So 100's too big. Let's go back to 36, and then we might just need to take that 100 off, and I might just remove it from here as well. No, remove it from, which one made the, remove it from there. Let's see if that works. There we go. And let's change this to 80, just so it fits on the page nicely. So the height is 80. So other things you can do, you can change the, that's nice, you can actually change the font itself. So let's change the font to Arial. Font family, and hopefully that's worked. Yay, there we go. So you can change the font, you can change the font size, you can change the font color. So we've got the font color set up. Where's font color? There it is. So it's set up to white, so you could maybe even change that to yellow, or whatever color you want. You can use the color picker for that. You could change the padding, so if you want to make the padding narrower. You could change the background color. So here's the background here, so let's change that to blue. And you can pretty much change whatever you want. If it doesn't work, you can use Control-Z to undo it if you run yourself into problems. But this is what I want. Oh, blue doesn't work. Change it to orange. This is what I want you to do. I want you to make it, there we go. I want you to make it customized to you. So something that kind of fits your own kind of thing, okay? So there we go. That is our lesson on the navigation bar. Hopefully that was fairly simple, and hopefully you got that. And here's all the code that we used. So we used, from this navigation bit here, was all the code we used in the HTML document. And the code that we used inside of the CSS was from line 49 all the way through to line 84. So not too bad. Okay, so get that done and I'll see you in the next lesson.